Consider for a moment. After undergoing a profound spiritual awakening, after your consciousness has achieved true clarity, why does the familiar concept of falling in love suddenly seem unattainable, perhaps even illusory? Carl Jung, a titan of 20th century psychology, delivered a profoundly unsettling realization. Much of what humanity labels love is, in reality, nothing more than psychological projection. It is the unconscious mechanism that takes our unhealed wounds, secret desires, and idealized fantasies, and meticulously overlays them onto an external individual. Intoxicated by this self-generated image, we often worship the creation and mistake this devotion for true love. But the experience of awakening is defined by brutal, uncompromising honesty. It is the abrupt moment when the psychological veil is lifted, the trance shattered, the fabricated fantasy dissolves, and unadulterated reality stands exposed. Once reality is seen, raw, stark, and undeniable, the familiar game of falling loses its enchanting power. The mask cracks, and the performance is laid bare. Herein lies the paradox. What initially feels like the demise of romance is, in truth, the prerequisite for authentic love, love in its most purified form. Chapter 1. Love as Projection. Jung revealed a truth most people never dare to face. When we declare ourselves in love, we are seldom captivated by the actual person. Instead, we are mesmerized by our own inner reflection. The anima, or animus, the hidden archetypes of femininity or masculinity residing deep within our psyche. The individual before us serves merely as a blank canvas upon which our inner world begins to paint. Their presence, their smile, their voice, everything glows with hues borrowed entirely from our own psychological landscape. This is the source of the magic of falling. We are not drowning in their essence, but in the reflection of our own magnificent projections. Our imagination instantly begins to weave intricate tapestries, a rushing confluence of memory, fantasy, and unfulfilled longing. Consequently, what we adore is not the individual's authentic self, but a meticulously constructed mental image. Their eyes sparkle because we deposited our hope there. Their words seem profound because our desperate longing imbues them with meaning. We claim, "I love them," yet we love the elaborate, unconscious narrative painted over them. Jung defined this phenomenon as the psyche casting its inner contents outward, persuading us that this manufactured connection is true destiny. This mechanism explains why love often burns most intensely in absence rather than presence. Notice how passion flares up during distance, uncertainty, or prolonged waiting. The less concrete knowledge we possess about the person, the more robust the fantasy grows, because projection flourishes in the void of the unknown. Your unconscious rushes to fill these gaps with its own dramatic narrative, cloaking emptiness in the robes of fierce desire. The ego confidently declares this inner theater to be profound affection, but awakening violently shatters the screen. The realization hits, it was never about them, it was always about me. My own unhealed hungers, my persistent unmet longings, were merely projected onto their face. The magic does not vanish, it is exposed. The intensity that once set us ablaze was simply our own psyche striving for integration. The longing was not proof of cosmic destiny. It was clear evidence of our own internal incompleteness. This is the most painful truth Jungian psychology delivers. When we fall blindly, we are not truly encountering another soul. We are encountering the unlived, fragmented parts of ourselves. The person ceases to be a partner. They become a mirror, reflecting the emptiness we carry within. That electricity was not cosmic fate, but the powerful collision between your unconscious needs and their accommodating presence. The image you adored was never them. It was your shadowed desires demanding acknowledgement. When this recognition solidifies, the blindness of falling becomes impossible. The trance is irreversibly broken, yet this breaking heralds freedom. With clear sight, we cease worshiping the mask, and we stop confusing volatile longing with genuine love. We no longer petition others to complete us, because we grasp Jung's essential teaching. Wholeness can only be cultivated internally. This is why, following an awakening, falling in love, as we once knew it is nearly impossible. The old intoxication loses its potency. The fire that once consumed reveals itself as mere smoke. For the awakened, love transforms. It sheds obsession, desperate hunger, and unstable fantasy, evolving into silent, steady, profound presence. It is a flame that warms endlessly without burning chaotically. It shifts from declaring, "I need you to complete me," to whispering, "I see you as you are, and I choose to share." The spell is broken. You can still love, but it is no longer blindness, it is clarity. You can still feel passion, but it is not rooted in emptiness, it is born of wholeness. And in that wholeness, love becomes rare, yet infinitely more precious. Because when you no longer fall, you rise into a love that is not projection, but enduring truth. Chapter 2. The Shadow and the Illusion of Passion. Jung maintained that what we frequently glorify as romantic passion is often far removed from true love. Instead, it is the shadow, the repressed, disowned aspects of the self, violently demanding recognition. The trembling hunger for contact, the obsessive terror of abandonment, the sleepless nights we tend to romanticize, these are not hallmarks of divine connection, but symptomatic expressions of an internal wound we refuse to address. Rather than engaging in necessary shadow work and confronting our internal voids, we cloak this insecurity in the guise of passionate romance. Awakening ruthlessly rips off this disguise. We frequently confuse sheer intensity with depth of love. The racing heartbeat, the frantic messaging, the anxiety induced by silence. We consecrate these volatile symptoms as proof of profound connection. Jung, however, would counter, "No, this is not connection. It is the loud projection of profound fear." The ego cannot tolerate acknowledged weakness. Thus it decorates loneliness with the intoxicating mask of passion. We are not loving the person. We are desperately petitioning them to soothe the pain of our shadow self. Until awakening, this illusion feels irresistible because it successfully hides the truth we fear most, that we are not whole within ourselves. Awakening is duplicated is akin to suddenly illuminating a darkened theater. The drama that once felt overwhelmingly real now appears clearly staged, almost artificial. We see the script the ego authored. Promise you'll never leave. Validate me. Fill the vacuum I refuse to face. Once this reality registers, passion loses its luster. The trembling intensity collapses into a startling silence. We grasp that the love we idolized was actually our fear of abandonment, wearing seductive perfume and whispering sweet reassurances to maintain the illusion. Many relationships flare and extinguish quickly, precisely because the fuel was never love. It was insecurity, and insecurity is a resource that inevitably runs dry. The inherent danger of shadow-driven illusionary love is its reliance on absence rather than presence. Notice how passion often intensifies when the person is distant, when uncertainty reigns, or when the heart burns in jealousy. That fire feels irresistible because it thrives on lack. But awakening reveals the trick. If passion requires absence to survive, Jung teaches us it is not love, it is purely hunger. True love does not dissipate when stability arrives, only illusions do. The awakened heart can no longer mistake torment for beauty. They cannot glorify the drama, knowing its source is their own shadow. Awakening doesn't abolish the capacity for love. It destroys the willingness to mistake fear for it. Passion, rooted in the shadow, is inherently unstable and temporary. But passion transformed through consciousness becomes enduring strength. When the shadow is consciously faced and integrated, love is reborn, no longer as madness, but as unshakable clarity. Chapter 3. Individuation and Wholeness. Carl Jung called the ultimate human journey individuation, the process of becoming internally whole, reconciling the conscious and unconscious, and integrating the shadow we denied and the potential light we feared to claim. Before awakening, we desperately pursue love, convinced that another person represents the missing shard of our soul. We unconsciously implore, "Complete me, save me, make me whole." After awakening, however, a truth dawns with crystalline sharpness. No one can complete you because you were never genuinely incomplete. The self, the inherent wholeness of who you are, was always present, merely obscured by illusions. Society trains us through pervasive narratives that emphasize finding the one to heal our wounds and silence our loneliness. Jung identified this as a hazardous myth, arguing that it serves only to distract us from the necessary confrontation with ourselves. Individuation is profoundly challenging, which is precisely why most people recoil from it. It requires facing the solitude we habitually try to flee, and sitting squarely with the fear that was previously masked as fervent passion. It demands acknowledging one's darkness, while still daring to claim one's own light. When one achieves internal wholeness, love ceases to be a desperate bargain rooted in need. It no longer whispers, "I am deficient, fix me." Instead, it boldly proclaims, "I am whole, and I recognize your wholeness. Let us choose to share this path together, in freedom." Ordinary love perpetually trembles with insecurity. Do they still love me? Will they stay? Am I enough? Individuated love is defined by stillness. It makes no demands, resorts to no begging, and is utterly sober concerning drama, which is recognized as a mere symptom of incompleteness. Awakened love is like two powerful rivers, magnificent on their own, yet choosing to flow side by side for a stretch of eternity. There is no clinging or fear of loss, only the clarity of presence and the joy of sharing. The awakened confront a shocking truth. It is infinitely better to stand whole and alone than to remain broken and codependent within a relationship. The loneliness experienced while incomplete alongside a partner is far more devastating than the sacred solitude required to cultivate the self. Once that self is born, you cease looking externally for completion. You stop begging others to silence your shadow, carrying your own light instead. Love suddenly transforms into a gift, no longer a desperate survival need. This love is freer, stronger, and deeper than the world understands. It does not burn chaotically like a wildfire. It burns steadily like an eternal flame. Here is the paradox Jung leaves us. Prior to individuation, love feels urgent, addictive, and intoxicating. Afterwards, it is calm, rare, and profoundly sacred. The possibility of falling, as before, is eliminated because there is no void left to stumble into. You are already standing whole. Love now becomes a conscious choice, not projection, not shadow, not bargaining, but sharing. Chapter 4. The End of the Old Theater. Jung observed that the meeting of two personalities is like the contact of two chemical substances. If there is any reaction, both are transformed. Yet, awakening unveils a deeper insight. Genuine transformation should never translate into dependency. Prior to awakening, romance feels like a dramatic stage play where we eagerly perform assigned roles: the savior, the victim, the long-lost soulmate. Society glorifies this melodrama as the pinnacle of true love. Jungian psychology, however, cuts through the noise, revealing that much of conventional romance is merely the unconscious recycling ancient archetypal scripts: the hero and the maiden, the rescuer and the rescued. It feels profound, but it is simply the unconscious repeating old scripts. When clarity arrives, the curtain drops. We recognize the stage for what it is, a theater. Awakening positions us in the audience, realizing, I know this play. I have seen this ending before. We are no longer captivated by the performance. The high drama feels strangely hollow. The lines that once moved us to tears now sound scripted. We respect the individuals, but we know they are merely enacting a role. This shift in perspective is the essence of transformation. The intensity is gone. Love is no longer a matter of life or death. That consuming passion has faded because the machinery of the spectacle has been observed. The magic has been unmasked, revealed instead as a clever arrangement of smoke and mirrors. Once this truth is seen, the heart cannot be fooled by the performance again. This awakening does not force an immediate rejection of love or a mockery of romance. On the contrary, the awakened still find enjoyment in it, participating in its beauty, but now armed with profound awareness. They distinguish clearly between the scripted performance and genuine reality. They recognize the desperate clinging, the ceaseless drama, and the dramatic vows of eternal possession as nothing more than lines dictated by the ego. Awakening liberates the self from confusing the theatrical production with ultimate truth. Thus, one can observe the drama with compassion, even appreciating its superficial beauty, yet the heart remains sovereign, no longer chained to its illusions. The inherent danger of the old relational theater is its capacity to hold us captive in a state of slumber. While inhabiting these predefined roles, we perpetually avoid confronting our deeper, authentic selves. The mask of the passionate lover serves as a shield, preventing us from seeing the inner shadow. The pervasive fantasy of finding completion outside of ourselves prevents the realization that we were always already whole. Awakening decisively breaks this cyclical pattern. The individual puts down the script and deliberately steps off the stage. While the rest of the world may continue performing, you are no longer entangled in the drama. You stand firmly in the unwavering silence of truth, observing the play for what it truly is, a temporary spectacle. Initially, this profound shift often registers as a sense of loss. You might grieve the familiar, high-stakes intensity of the old theater, the rush of adrenaline, the consuming jealousy, the emotional outbursts, and the feverish obsession. But gradually, a powerful realization dawns. What was tragically mistaken for love was merely a meticulously staged performance. Awakening bestows a gift far superior, authentic peace. There is an end to pretense, to transactional bargaining, and to the fundamental confusion of mistaking need for devotion. The raging wildfire of drama recedes, replaced by a steady, calmer flame, one that provides warmth without blinding the beholder. Within this gentle warmth, one discovers a quality of love infinitely stronger than any scenario the ego could script. This clarity often causes the awakened to be profoundly misunderstood. Outsiders observe them and conclude, "You have grown cold. You no longer surrender to love." The inverse is true. The awakened have not lost the capacity for love. They have shed their illusions. They are incapable of pretending the theater is real once they have witnessed the stage mechanisms from the wings. They refuse to confuse emotional projection with true devotion or assumed roles with objective reality. Their love, in its new form, is not performance, nor dependency, nor a claim of possession. It is characterized purely by awareness, presence, and freedom. The final curtain descends upon the old theater, and the spell is broken completely. You retain the ability to love, but it is stripped of the feverish need that once drove it. You can still share passion, but it is no longer tethered by the chains of fear. You walk alongside another, not because they are required to complete you, but precisely because they stand whole, just as you do. This marks the definitive end of the dramatic era, the moment love ceases to be a performance and transforms into fundamental truth. Once this clarity is experienced, no theatrical stage, no ego script, and no illusion can ever imprison the heart again. Chapter 5. Awakened Love, the Love of Wholeness. After the illusions have utterly burned away, after projections collapse, the shadow is faced, and the process of individuation illuminates one's inherent wholeness. What residue remains? A love so exceedingly rare, so quiet, and so profoundly sacred that it remains unknown to the majority. Carl Jung defined this as love born of individuation, not two fractured halves desperately seeking completion, but two fully whole beings choosing to meet in absolute freedom. This love is not characterized by possession, obsession, or fear. It is pure, uncontaminated presence. It is like two distinct flames burning side by side, each retaining its unique fire and intensity, yet providing mutual warmth without ever diminishing or attempting to steal the other's light. This type of love refuses to claim, refuses to demand, and fundamentally refuses to enslave. It simply exists. Ordinary love is defined by its deep insecurity, always trembling with questions like, "Will you stay? Do you still love me? Am I truly enough?" Awakened love, conversely, demands nothing. It flows with quiet certainty because it is not sourced from lack or deficiency. Since the self is already whole, there is no fear of abandonment. Since the vision is clear, there is no need for projection. And because survival does not depend on the other's presence, there is no basis for bargaining. Consequently, awakened love often appears serene, perhaps even monotonous, to those who remain asleep. They mistake this profound absence of drama for a lack of love. Yet, what they observe is simply the absence of illusion. Consider the image of two powerful rivers, each fundamentally strong, alive, and flowing with its own direction and momentum. When these rivers meet, they do not dissolve into one another, losing their essential identities. Instead, they flow parallel, creating a mightier collective current without compromising their individual flow. This is the nature of awakened love, two individuals who have shed the fear of solitude and the desperate need for completion, choosing intentionally to walk together. Their bond is not forged from chains of necessity, but from the principle of freedom. It is this very freedom that makes the connection exponentially stronger than any fearful contract could ever dictate. Jung's assessment was unflinchingly rigorous. Only the individuated soul is capable of true love. The reason is simple. Only those who have fully faced their shadow and successfully claimed their wholeness can afford to encounter another person without defensive masks. If you remain engaged in a search for rescue, you will mislabel need as love. If you are still attempting to evade your innate loneliness, you will mistake projection for passion. But upon awakening, you stop confusing hunger for intimacy. You cease constructing relationships based on transactional bargains of need. Instead, you engage from a state of inner fullness. And love that originates from this state of abundance is so exceptional, so precious, that it feels almost ethereal. This explains the profound scarcity of awakened love. Most individuals remain captivated by illusions, still addicted to the high-stakes theater of emotional drama. They continue to confuse jealousy with genuine devotion, absence with heightened passion, and obsession with irrefutable proof. The awakened heart refuses to participate in this charade. It cannot pretend that blindness constitutes beauty, or that chains somehow equate to affection. Thus, awakened connection becomes inherently selective. The crowd naturally thins, because very few have undertaken the same strenuous internal work. But with the few who remain, those who have also touched the clarity of their own wholeness, love becomes boundless. The awakened heart's essential declaration is not, "I need you," but "I choose you." The distinction between these two phrases is immense. Need inherently creates chains. Choice cultivates freedom. Need suffocates the spirit. Choice allows for expansive breathing. Need desperately begs for rescue. Choice celebrates mutual presence. Awakened love establishes its foundation not on fragile promises of eternity, but on the unwavering clarity of the present moment. Its true vow is, "I do not require you for my survival, yet I willingly walk beside you because my wholeness finds joy in your presence." This is love in its most authentic, unadulterated form, free, impeccably clear, and brilliantly radiant. To the outside world, this connection may appear too detached, too silent, or excessively calm. Those fundamentally addicted to chaos and intensity cannot comprehend a love devoid of drama. But the awakened heart receives such accusations with a knowing smile. Having tasted the steady, reliable flame of inner wholeness, there is no lingering hunger for the wildfire of illusion. Noise is no longer mistaken for depth. Love transforms into a quiet, anchoring strength, a perennial warmth. It ceases to be a destructive storm and becomes, instead, a nourishing river. And within that profound simplicity, it achieves true eternity. What ultimately remains? A love of exquisite rarity, a connection that cannot be fabricated, manufactured, or purchased with grand promises or hollow vows. It is the authentic meeting of two individuated souls, each complete and free, intentionally electing to share their paths. Though such love remains uncommon, its appearance is more precious than diamonds, and more enduring than any earthly fire. Herein lies the paradox of awakening. You may encounter love less frequently, but when you do, it is no longer falling. It is rising into a devotion unburdened by chains or illusion, a love founded solely on freedom, clarity, and uncompromising truth. Chapter 6. The strange solitude. Awakening often delivers a gift wrapped in silence, solitude. This is not loneliness, but a vast, echoing clarity that is simultaneously liberating and burdensome. Carl Jung famously termed this the burden of consciousness. Once the inner light has touched your vision, you can never again comfortably return to the old darkness. You see the deep illusions, the transactional games, and the protective masks that once held you captive. Because you see too much, retreat is impossible. The crowd disperses, not because you deliberately departed, but because most people still crave the sustenance of illusion. What they label as love, you now recognize as pure projection. What they define as passion, you perceive as shadow work. Consequently, you are compelled to walk a quieter, less traveled road. At first, this solitude feels like an exile. You may stand in a room filled with voices, yet sense that none truly reach you. They are still reciting the lines of the old relational play, still worshiping the very stage you have abandoned. You might smile, converse, and even participate superficially, but internally, you are detached. A part of you observes, lucid and removed, genuinely unable to sustain the pretense. This distance is not a conscious choice. It is the inevitable consequence of a genuine awakening. Jung asserted that true consciousness invariably separates the individual, for seeing clearly necessitates standing apart from the collective unconscious. This necessary solitude can feel unbearably profound. The comforting warmth of collective illusions is gone. The heady intoxication of projection has died. What remains is a silence, vast and unwavering. And in that silence, the chilling realization arrives. Much of what you once called love was fundamentally rooted in fear. Fear of being alone, fear of not measuring up, fear of being unseen. Awakening tears these fears from their elaborate disguises. You can no longer hide behind them. The binding ropes that once tied you to others unravel at the slightest touch, and you are suddenly left facing yourself entirely, uncompromisingly. But within this solitude lies a powerful, paradoxical freedom. You are no longer enslaved to the hunger of needing someone else to validate your worth. You are no longer chained to the constant anxiety of abandonment. For the first time, you truly discover the strength required to stand alone, complete, fully awake, and aware. The solitude is immense, yes, but within it resides a peace the old theater could never provide. The peace of authenticity, the peace of no longer having to perform, the peace of finally living without the cost of illusion. Yet, the world invariably misinterprets this solitude. They observe the awakened and whisper, "He has grown cold. She is incapable of love." But the awakened heart is not cold. It is flawlessly clear. It no longer confuses chains for affection, drama for passion, or hunger for devotion. To those still entrenched in sleep, this clarity appears distant. To those still craving the old, destructive fire, it appears detached. But in truth, this is love in its most refined form. Love without illusion. And this is often why the awakened walk alone, waiting patiently for another who has also journeyed through the shadows into personal wholeness. This strange solitude is not a punishment, but a deep purification. It forces you to love yourself, to embrace your own company, and to find profound depth in silence. Jung believed individuation absolutely required this kind of withdrawal, a decisive step back from the collective delusions, so that the authentic self could finally emerge. And though the journey feels isolating, it serves as preparation for a love far grander than anything the old theater offered. Only when you can stand alone, without debilitating fear, can you truly walk beside another without need for chains. Solitude, therefore, is not emptiness, it is fertile ground. The solitude of awakening is vast, because your perception has expanded so greatly. You now see truths others are not yet prepared to confront. You sense illusions others still fondly call love. You recognize emotional wounds others still worship as passion. Thus, your path feels lonely, but it is the loneliness of being ahead, not behind. You are not abandoned. You are simply walking in spaces most have not yet consciously reached. And in that profound silence, your soul grows stronger, sharper, and freer than it ever was before. This is Jung's complex gift and curse. Once you awaken, you can never go back to sleep. You cannot unknow what you now know, And yes, this clarity may scatter the crowd. Yes, it may isolate you from the world's pervasive illusions, but it simultaneously gives birth to something infinitely more precious. The fundamental strength to love without protective masks, to live without deception, and to stand wholly intact even in isolation. For the awakened, this strange solitude is not the end of the road. It is the beginning, the solid foundation upon which awakened love can finally be born. Chapter 7. The New Definition of Love. Awakening fundamentally redefines love at its very core. Carl Jung would suggest that once the unconscious and conscious elements unite, the illusions surrounding love completely dissolve. The awakened heart no longer begs for eternity or clings desperately to guarantees. It ceases seeking contracts or insurance policies. Instead, it fully inhabits the now, remaining alive, present, and free. To the unawakened, this type of love appears distant, almost too calm to be considered genuine. But in truth, this is love in its purest state. Not projection, not hunger, not shadow, but pure presence. This is love without illusion, a profound union that does not bind, but liberates. Ordinary love operates through demands. It insists, "Swear you will never leave me. Promise me forever." Awakened love makes no such bargains. It understands that eternity cannot be conjured through verbal assurance. It chooses to live completely in the moment, recognizing that the now is the only eternity we genuinely possess. This realism does not make the connection shallow. Conversely, it makes it infinitely deeper, more profound. Every touch, every glance, every silence shared becomes sanctified and infinitely precious, because it is free from the crushing weight of false promises. To those still ensnared in illusion, awakened love can seem unnervingly cold. They observe no jealousy, no clinging, no trembling fear, and they mistake this stillness for detachment. They are mistaken. The absence of drama is not the absence of love. It is the absence of illusion. The awakened heart refuses to play roles written by the demanding ego. It does not confuse possession with genuine devotion or obsession with intimacy. Its silence is not emptiness. Its profound calm is not distance. Its crystal clarity is its greatest strength. Jung would term this the union of opposites, the integration of the conscious and unconscious, the shadow and the light, the reconciliation of the internal masculine and feminine energies. When these internal forces achieve harmony within the self, love experienced outwardly changes forever. It is no longer a desperate attempt to heal personal wounds through the presence of another. It ceases to be a mere projection of the unhealed self. It becomes an honest, authentic meeting of equals, each already whole unto themselves. This is why awakened love is rare. Few people complete this inner union. And without that internal completion, the outer union is destined to remain entangled in illusion. Awakened love thrives solely on presence, not performance. There is no need for grand, performative gestures, no constant craving for reassurance. It is not about proving devotion. It is about simply being. Sitting together in silence feels sufficient. Walking side by side without exchanging words feels complete. This is because awakened love understands that what makes a connection real is not what you do to impress, but who you are in shared presence. Every moment is sacred because it has been stripped of the need for illusion. This new definition of love is synonymous with freedom. Freedom from chains disguised as vows. Freedom from contracts masked as devotion. Freedom from illusions parading as passion. But freedom does not weaken love. It strengthens it immeasurably. When you are genuinely free to leave, your subsequent choice to stay becomes a powerful, deliberate act. When you are free from need, your gift of presence becomes sacred. When you are free from illusion, what remains is truth, and truth is utterly unshakable. To embody this love requires profound courage, because the world simply does not understand it. They will challenge you, saying, "You don't truly love unless you claim, unless you fight, unless you burn with jealousy." But the awakened heart smiles knowingly. It understands that love without fear is not weakness. It is the highest form of strength. It knows that love without chains is not indifference. It is the purest devotion available. This is the quality of love the awakened carry. Silent, strong, alive, rare, yet more authentic than any drama the ego could possibly conjure. And so love is redefined. No longer a fever that consumes, but a gentle flame that warms endlessly. No longer a storm of projection, but a clear sky of presence. No longer two halves searching for completion, but two whole beings meeting in absolute freedom. This is Jung's vision of awakened love. Not need, not illusion, but truth. And though the world may never fully grasp it, those who have walked through the transformative fire of awakening know this love, rare as it is worth everything. For it is the only love that truly endures when all illusions finally fall away. Conclusion: the freedom of the awakened heart. So why do the awakened no longer fall in love? Because they no longer fall at all. Falling implies blindness, a surrender to illusion, a reckless mistaking of hunger for passion. The awakened do not stumble into love, they walk into it deliberately, with their eyes wide open. They are no longer driven by inner emptiness, but guided by inner fullness. They no longer seek someone else to complete them, because they have already discovered their own unshakable wholeness. And once they have discovered, once you have truly internalized this sense of wholeness, you gain an immediate, undeniable clarity. You will be incapable of confusing self-serving drama with genuine devotion, mistaking desperate need for authentic love, or substituting fleeting illusion for enduring truth. The profound liberty of the awakened heart resides in conscious choice. Love ceases to be a frantic survival mechanism or a transactional bargain struck in the shadows of insecurity. Instead, it becomes a deliberate, intentional commitment. The language shifts entirely. The awakened do not utter the phrase, "I cannot live without you." Their declaration is far more potent. "I can live without you, yet I choose to walk with you." This distinction reveals a bond infinitely stronger than mere dependency. It is not a suffocating chain, but an empowering partnership. Not desperation, but devotion forged in the fire of crystal-clear self-awareness. Such love never enslaves. It radically liberates both individuals. This liberated state is precisely what makes the resulting connection rare, deeply profound, and inherently unshakable. While the uninitiated world may perceive this self-sufficiency as cold or detached, a view often held by those who still worship emotional illusions, the reality is that awakened love is warmer, richer, and more enduring than any feverish, clingy obsession. It maintains an unwavering calm because it operates without fear. It remains steady because it is not driven by neediness. And it possesses absolute clarity because it is never constructed upon fragile fantasy. This clarity is why the awakened no longer fall in love. Their experience is not a passive tumble, nor is it based on blindness or mere projection. It is founded on pure presence, and presence far outweighs the power of any illusion. This is the profound paradox that Carl Jung bequeathed to us. Awakening does not destroy love, it ruthlessly purifies it. It systematically strips away the roles, the masks, and the protective shadows until only unadulterated truth remains. That truth is not fragile, not temporary, and certainly not dependent on external validation. It is eternal in its stark simplicity. When two whole beings encounter one another, there is no necessity for emotional contracts or tiresome performances. There is only mutual presence, and within that presence resides the ultimate freedom of the awakened heart, a love without illusions, a love without fear, a love that rises instead of falls. If Jung's philosophy resonated with you today, do not contain this insight. Share this vital message with someone who may still be chasing the mirage of codependent love, allowing them a glimpse of what affection looks like stripped of all masks. And now, I want to hear your thoughts. Do you believe love is fundamentally a projection of our internal needs, or is it an abiding truth? Drop your perspective in the comments below. Your words might just be the catalyst that awakens someone else's heart today.